Imagine an Excel table where you could name individual columns and define their value types. We'll define first two columns in our structured variable as objects and connect individual Modbus, individual I/O tags from the Modbus communication to them. Then we will archive each column into one primary structured historical value. So we'll create one structured historical value for the first column and one for the second one. Then we will create two statistical structured historical values, 1 minute averages, from these two primary objects. And we will publish their values back into our structured variables into the average A and average B columns. Then we'll create a structured structured calculated historical value that will add these two statistical values and publish its value into the last column named sum. These three columns will be of real type. What are the advantages of working with structures? We will create only 5 historical values, but they can handle many rows. So you can save time and effort, and if you need to modify some parameters of the historical values, it can be done in one place. When we work with structured variables, we first create a structure definition. So let's create a structure definition. Let's call it sd.modbus. Okay. We'll create 2 columns. Let's name the first one object A and change the type to object. And let's insert another one, object B, and it will be also object. Then we need average A of the real type, average B, also real type, and sum, again real. So we got structure definition with 5 columns. Let's save it and close it. And now we can create a structured variable. Let's call it again sv.modbus. First, we have to define the structure for this variable. That will be the structure definition as the Modbus that we just created. So you see the columns will be object A, B, average H, average B, and sum. Let's change the number of rows to 3. Let's check the manual so that we can write into the structure. We will need that later. And now the first 2 columns are of object type. I can double click and go to my I/O tags and connect Modbus client 00, 01, or I can copy it 02, 03. Okay, I'll start with connecting only 2 rows. And I can save my structured variable. When I go to the human interface, open structured variable, I can see, when I resize it, that the first columns are connected and I see the values of the connected I/O tags. Now, I'll close the structure, go to the historical values, and I'll create a historical value. I'll use this one as a template. Let's call it Modbus client object A. However, I will use it to store not the I/O tag, but the structured variable, and more specifically all the rows and column object A. I'll disable the publishing values because I don't need it. and click Save. So now I just archived the column object A. I will refresh the list and copy my structured primary historical value to another one, and of course this one I will archive object B. Now I have the primary historical values done. I will create another one. Now I need the average. Let's call it object A average. Okay, I can use this one as a sample or template. This time I will create a statistical archive. The source of this archive will be my structure historical value, this one. I will again create 1 minute weighted average. Okay, and this time I will publish the values into Modbus structure, into all the rows and into average A. Okay, let's go to the human interface, and you can see that the averages, 1 minute weighted averages, are being published into my third column. Of course, now I will create a copy of it. I will name it object B average, and this time I will create a 1 minute statistics of this object B and publish it into average B. Okay, I can close it. You see, I got all the averages. Now the only one that I want to create will be Modbus client sum. I can create it by copying this non-structured object. So I will remove this from the name. Okay, I will click create, and I will again publish the values into the SV Modbus, all columns and all rows and columns, column sum. And here in the statement I have to add these two averages, object A and object B. So I can go to object A average plus object B average. However, to know that I'm working with structured, I need to change the, or specify that I want to work with all the rows of this structured variable, and both here and here. So I will save it and verify here. Okay, so I got primary historical values, the averages and the sum. And now we can close the historical values. We can go to the structured variable and add or fill in more data, 4 and 5, and I can add another row, 6 and 7. Now when I save this, I can immediately go to the human interface. I see that I have the immediate values of these objects displayed, and on the edge of the minute also the averages and the sum were recalculated. And notice please that I don't have to modify the historical values. I didn't do anything to them. I just resized the structure. So I can have 20 rows or 50 rows. All I need is to connect another object, IO text or something else, to the structure and resize it, and I don't have to touch my historical value. Again, I want to also tell you that these 5 historical values, the structured historical values, are all that is needed for even tens or hundreds of I/O tags if they are connected to my structure. So I could basically delete all these simple historical values. I won't do it because I want to give it to you an XML export so that you can play with them. But the strength of D2000 for this repeated technological units is that you can do the structured archiving and other things with structures. Well, this is the end of my presentation. However, I sincerely hope it is not an end of your work with IPES of the 1000 system. Quite the opposite, it should be the beginning of your exploration of the 2000 system. Please bear in mind that what I showed you today is just a small fragment of the 2000 capabilities. So don't hesitate to use our online documentation, and if you can't find the answer here, you can contact us via email or ask on our community forum.